Good morning, everybody. My name is Vincent Michael Donatelli. This is my first video, and I have no desire to do this at all. And my wife and family have been pushing me to do something like this for some time, and I've shied away from it because I have issue with social media. I don't like it, and I feel like I'm an adult, and I don't need it, but our finances kind of say otherwise. So just wanted to give an introduction video. So my parents call me Michael Donatelli. My full name is Vincent Michael Donatelli. My father's name is Vincent. My uncle's name is Vincent. Sorry about the traffic in the background. And I have a great uncle that was named Vincent. So Michael was the obvious choice. When I was 15, I believe we moved to Indiana, and I changed it from Michael to Vincent. And it just kind of felt like my identity was living in another man's shadow. So let's see, I'm 38 years old, and a few years ago, before I got married, the Lord told me about my Hebrew name, Michael Dan Atah. That was a interesting conversation. I learned about that when I was writing my ketubah. So, anyways, I'm trying to wean away from being called Vincent, being called Michael, and I guess I should talk about my target audience. So what I do for a living is I make video games. I only know how to do two things. I know how to do video games / multimedia, and I know the Lord. And I think one of the biggest reasons why I didn't want to do these videos is because internally I know how much of a wretch I am. And talking about the holiness of God when you're not feeling that way is, a plank, right? So, like, what I want to do is, when I look at the multimedia industry and I look at the video games industry, what are they doing? I think there's a big difference between amoral and immoral. And what we're doing is we're moving away from an immoral market, and we're moving towards an amoral market. And nobody's holding anybody accountable. Why should we hold anybody accountable? Because of truth. Abba is truth. One of the commandments that he teaches us is that we are to not bear false testimony. And one of the things I think people miss is because Abba is truth. So what I want to do is I want to be able to talk about video games, and I want to talk about how to make video games, because I am an animation director and I'm also a producer. But I also want to talk about, what the Lord's been doing in my life, and I have a testimony that I'll share with you in a little bit. But I'm one man, and we're taught growing up that we're supposed to separate God and separate our business, but I'm one individual. My life with God is my life with work. Some people don't like that, and that's okay. I don't like what other people like, and that's where you get to change the channel, right? Go find a target audience that kind of agrees with you, or doesn't. So, I guess I'll go into my testimony. When I was 15, I don't even think I remember telling my parents this, but I was coming home from church in Indiana, and we grew up Christian. We grew up Catholic, and my parents left Catholicism and went to non-denominational Christianity. And when I was 15, I decided to go to a Pentecostal church, mostly for a girl. But I was growing in the Lord, and I was reading and I was studying, and I was actually, I was praising God on the way home from Bible study one night. It was a Wednesday, because we had Wednesday night Bible study for the youth. And I just remember praising God all the way home. So that night I went to bed, and I died. I didn't know that I died until I woke up. So when I died, you know, like I said, I didn't know. It just felt like I went to sleep, and I went to bed. And when I woke up, it was, you know, I thought I was dreaming. I was in a white room. I mean, it was bright white, like white. And the first thing I did is look down. And when I looked down, I was wearing a white robe. And it wasn't like a bathrobe, but it's like, you know, in those Bible stories that kind of depict people wearing robes. And, you know, I didn't know what tallits were or anything like that at the time. I don't know if I was wearing one. But I just looked down, and I saw, like, you know, about right here is where my robe ended. And I went like this. I was trying, like, it was weird because my body was semi-translucent, and like I could see through it, but I still had mass. Like I could, you know, I could have feelings. I had thought. I just remember, like, this is weird. What the heck is going on? And I can tell you, I remember walking north. So I take a couple steps, and I'm observing the atmosphere, and it was incredibly foggy. And I knew that there were beings or people or something watching me. They were looking at me, but because of the thickness of the fog, I couldn't see beyond that. And I'd say maybe it was like maybe 30 feet on, like, so 30 feet to the fog, and then on the other side of the fog is I knew that I was being observed. And I just knew that I was walking north in the silence that was extremely quiet. Like, you know, we have birds and we have traffic and all of this stuff that's always bombarding us with information, noise pollution. But I remember there was just silence. And as I'm walking north, I start to see this structure. It was the left armrest of the throne. And I remember the mass of the side of the armrest. I just remember walking up to it and touching it. It was like stone. It felt like marble, but it was so polished and smooth, and like the filigree and the detail and the rubies and the gemstones, the precious stones. It was like, you know, that there was a story behind this throne, and I'm just marveling at the craftsmanship. And then I just was remembering, like, oh my God, this thing is like the size of a mountain. Like, this object was carved out of the stone the size of a mountain. It was just giant. It was a giant throne. Now, how do I know there was a throne? Because there was somebody sitting on it. And I remember seeing a foot, right? And the foot was not like a foot like my foot. I'm 6'2"-ish, and you know, I wear a size 11 depending on the manufacturer, but I'm talking about like 10, 15 feet, 20 feet wide. Gold sandals. If it was brass, it was brass, but I'm just saying that it had the appearance of gold. Very shiny, and they were sandals, because I saw a foot, and it was like brown, but it was like translucent-ish. Can't explain it. Like, you know, when you're in the realm of the spirit, things affect, color affects, there's different, you don't always have the correct vocabulary words because having the vocabulary of that place is foreign. So anyways, I'm marveling at this foot, and I'm like, that's a foot. And then I look up, and about quarter up the ankle is the robe. And I just, I'm like, oh, that's a robe. So I'm gonna borrow my camera for a minute and try to pose myself on how the being was looking at me. So this is probably not gonna work. Let's try this. Oh, yeah, that kind of works. it was almost just like this in this camera angle, sitting down, and there was somebody looking at me, just like that, just looking. But there's more to it than that. It was, sorry about that while everything refocuses. Thanks for bearing with me. So when I saw the robe, I'm going up, and I see the elbow and the robe on the elbow. And I see a beard, white beard, long beard, like maybe mid-chest, maybe a little longer, but it wasn't like not a Chinese Fu Manchu, like to the floor beard. It wasn't like that. It was average Jewish, right? And then I saw his face. I saw the eyes of the Father, and they were like suns, but they were like galaxies. They were incomprehensible. When I saw his face, when I saw his eyes, every sin that I ever did, every sin that I did from when I was little, all the way to the point of all the sins that I didn't know that I was going to do, and the sins that I did, they all hit me in the chest. They hit me in the chest. They hit me in the face. It was like this convulsion that my body was just writhing in pain, and it was this. Each sin was like zooming in on me like this. It was, but it went in me. It went in me. I don't know if it went through me out the back. I just knew that I was in a lot of pain. And then when the last one hit me, I tanked. I just, and so as I'm, falling forward and all my body is going out of commission, the last thing I saw was arms kind of like, going in on me, right? Trying to pick me up. I hope that registered well. Oi. Sorry, hold on. So, I then remember the next thing was the Father's face was over here, and I was laying down in his lap, and he was breathing into my mouth, and out of his nose was breathing into my nose. It was, like just his breath of life was going into me. And like, I just remember all, like, it's weird because I knew I was in the realm of the spirit, and looking back, it was like, was I breathing oxygen? I don't even know what that was, but I knew that the breath of life was being brought back into me. Okay, so I also knew I'm sitting there on his left thigh. I'm sitting down, and he turns my body, so I'm facing away from his. So like my back can kind of lean up against his chest a little bit, and he takes his arm and he kind of pulls me in closer to his chest, and I heard him say, but not with his mouth, but in his. It was like telekinesis, right? He was talking to my head and my heart at the same time, like, just don't look at my eyes again. So at this moment, I'm like, what happened? I was alive. I saw his face, and I started to tense up and cry again. And then he calmed me. And then I just remember being there, and there was a gap of time that was missing, and then being brought back to life. I call that block oblivion. Now, it is written that those who see my face shall surely die. And I was already dead because I was there. So, being that I was there, when I saw his face, I died again, twice. So I died in this world and I died there. Pardon me. So, when when he turned me around and he faced me the other way, he said, "Don't look in my eyes again." I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, I need to talk to you. So he reached behind his throne. He reached his right hand behind the right side of his throne. He reached way back and he grabbed a book and he opened it up. But the thing was, like I said, I'm like 6'2", and the book was taller than me. So it must have been 10, 12 feet. And he's holding it with his right hand, and he opened it, and he actually grabbed my wrist, and he said, "Okay, hold the book." I said, "Okay." And he said, and he squeezed my hand. He goes, "Okay, you got it?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Okay, we need to do something." He's like, "Where should we start?" So he reaches around behind me, and he's starting to turn the page. And he's turning the page. He goes, "Oh, this is a good place to start." And he starts on this side, so right to left, and so now I'm looking at the words of the book because it's big, right? So I'm kind of having to look up at it. So he's going, okay. So he starts with his finger, he's pointing and he's moving this way, and he's speaking the words. Now I don't know if he was speaking them audibly or not. I just remember hearing the voice and paying attention to what was happening. So that kind of memory, because it's been so long, I just can't remember. So he's speaking to me, and I see this cloud, like a TV cloud, and I see everything that I'm watching him point and move, and I'm watching this cloud, and I'm watching everything happen in real time. So it's like this cloud. I say it's a cloud because I can see through the cloud, and I can see through the words. So I'm watching him do this, and I can't remember how long it was that he read to me, but it was like as if I was just reading you a story. So it was, a couple minutes, and so he was reading, and he went kind of slow, dot, 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 and bop, 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 bop. And so when I'm looking at this, he goes, "Do you understand what I just read to you?" I said, "No, sir, I don't read Hebrew." I can't, you know what? I might be telling that a little out of story. He said, I remember. He said, "Can you read this?" This was before he started reading. I'm sorry. So he said, "Can you read this?" I said, No, Lord, I don't read Hebrew." He goes, "Oh, you don't?" He says, "That's okay. I'll teach you when you get older." And he just kind of like did one of those. He says, "Oh, that's okay. I'll teach you when you get older." So then he started to read. Forgive me. So then he said, "Do you understand what I just read to you?" And I said, "That was me. Was that me? That was me, right?" And when he read, he started backwards. He started like not reading like down up, but he's like the events. It was when I was an old man, and I was going backwards to when I was in the womb. I actually saw myself in the womb. And I said, "That was me, right?" I said, "You read to me my whole life." And he said, "No, son, this whole book is your life. I just read to you the first 2 sentences." And I just went, huh. I asked him some personal questions. I'm not going to share those with you. But he read to me my life, and some of those events have already happened. But anyways, he said to me, "I have to send you back now, but just know whatever happened." Sorry about that, everybody. My phone storage got full. I thought I deleted enough space beforehand, and it's already been almost 20 minutes, so thank you for sticking this out if you are still going. But anyways, he put the book behind his throne room. He said, "I have to send you back now." He hugged me like just tight, kind of like pulled me into his chest. He kissed me on the top of my head, and as soon as my feet touched the ground, I was back. And I remember when I got sent back, it was instantaneous, but my spirit, when I collided with my body, I remember shaking the bed. It was like this, and it almost felt like I was going to go through it. And now oxygen's coming back into my body, and I got, oh my god, I have to remember, I have to write this down, I have to write all this down. And I went to go, because my desk was in the corner, I went to go jump out of my bed, and when I went to go get out of my bed, I almost fell out of my bed because I had no strength, and I had to like pull the covers back let me get my hands in there, and pull myself back into the bed. And I said, and I felt all my strength leaving me. And I was like, oh my God, I have to remember this. I have to remember how, I just go to sleep. Next morning, I wake up, I ran to my desk and I pulled out a paper, just stack of paper, and I went to go write, and then like nothing. So when I went to go write, I just only remembered a few things, and the things that I remembered, some of them have happened, some of them haven't happened. So that sucked, not being able to remember. But I can tell you this, 3 days after that event, I was so burdened by the things that I felt like I was supposed to do with my life, I ran the other way. And for the next, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So for the next 6 years, next 6 years, I went the other way. And that was when I thought, I'd get the most out of my life. Of course, being young and stupid, that those two things kind of come together. And yeah, so that kind of story coming to a close. I was 21. When I was 23, I started attending a Messianic Jewish congregation, Temple Aron HaKodesh. Hey everybody, if you guys see it. Under the supervision of Rabbi Yosef Kolner, and also under Mark and Ruth Shivist, and then also Dr. Neil Lash and Jamie Lash of Jewish Jewels. I used to work with them for a little season. So that was where I got my training. That's a story for a different day. So moving on, so that was 23. So from 23 to 33, I was considering myself a Messianic Jew all the time, trying to figure out and learn my Jewish identity, right? So when I turned 33, 34-ish, one day the Lord was having a conversation with me, and he said, I do not want you to call yourself a Messianic Jew anymore. You are a Messianic Hebrew. Like, okay. And he helped me recall a conversation. If you were children of Abraham, you would do the things that Abraham did. So what did Abraham do? So that's when I started investigating the Noahide laws and what Abraham did. And I really switched gears and tried to absorb as much Torah as I possibly can and could and still do. I just can't seem to escape the first 5 books. And if I do, it's temporary. I'm going into the prophets or the writings or the New Testament to verify what Moses said. Yeshua said, you search the scriptures hoping to find eternal life. And I'm paraphrasing, okay? And he says, but if you believe what Moses wrote, you would believe what I say, because Moses wrote about me. So that has been my quest the last few years, is to understand who Yeshua is according to what Moses wrote. So he's either Mashiach or he's not. But if he said that Moses wrote about him, so it's my responsibility to go find that out. I can tell you that part of my target audience is that I know that I'm put on this earth to bridge the gap between Christians and Jews. That is going to be a completely different video, and church is going to have to brace themselves on that one. I also want you guys to know that I went on 2 40-day fasts in my life, and just the amount of revelation that you received during that time, I'm still writing it down. Like, it's been 6 years and I'm still writing it down. I've got like 1,200 pages of revelation that God's given me. Yesterday I'm seeming to come to a close with the first 32 pages of the first message he gave me regarding to appropriation of the tithe, and how the church is, and it's not just the church, Christian church, it's the body of Christ. The Western American church mindset and also the roots of where that comes from, and then what the Bible actually says about it. It's not the same. So that's going to be made available soon. You see, even when I was, right before I was making this video, as I was trying to get clean and sanctify, and I just remembered there was more stuff I have to put in the document. So it's like, even when it's done, it's not done. I'm going to make a lot of people mad, and maybe it's time. But what do you want? What are you going to get out of this? Slow posting in videos. Like I said, I don't want to do this, but if this is the direction that I have to go, you know, you have to know that I'm coming from the love of the Lord. You know, when I pray, I always pray in the name of the love of Yahweh and Yeshua. The Father has been forgotten. My friend Andrew, he runs a ministry called Voices of the Streets, and he told me, he says, Vince, do you think that it's quite possible that we live in a fatherless generation because we've forgotten the Father? And the answer is absolutely. So I'm going to help, not me, but the Lord through me. That's my mission that He gave me, is to help people know who the Father is. Yes, the Son is important, but when the Father doesn't speak, at the end of the day, it's still Him. We'll get into that another day. So I thank you for minding this very long video. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you guys again sometime. Shalom.